3 out of 4 in this weekend series. Easy to just react to a game, but let's go bigger picture. It's a really good start for this baseball team. So let me ask you both. What has impressed you most about the Tigers? And if there's a red flag so far, maybe jump on that. But, Pat, it's a really positive thing that we've seen from this baseball team so far.
Well, there's no question. I mean, Spencer Torkelson, #1. That's unexpected, I think, to a lot of people. Surprise. Casey Mize, another unexpected surprise. Jackson Jobe has really come on. Gleyber Torres is hit. Dylan Dingler is hit. They've had a far more good stories than they've had disappointments.
That adds up to winning.
And pitching wins, and their pitching is outstanding.
Their rotation has been probably one of the best in baseball, if not the best right now. Defense is still your red flag. You saw today with the play by Javi, and he's actually been good hitting, as you know, better than people thought. Injuries still a concern. Kerry Carpenter, I don't know, hopefully the hamstring's not going to force him out of many games. And, you know, they've been really good when they've had to. They've been really good at home, and, you know, tough to lose a game like that. But you win 3 out of 4 against your division rival, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's certainly something that we've seen with this team is resiliency. And I think what they did at the end of last year, look, this is a new year, but I do believe that there was some seasoning that happened there with this baseball team, and they believe in themselves now.
Yeah, and, you know, they needed some pleasant surprises like everybody else, and they've got that.
How about McKinstry?
Yeah, I mean, you know, he's I used to call him the modern-day Donnie Kelly, but he's been better than that.
Good teams have McKinstry's, right?
Yeah, right. And Bañez gets a hit now and then. You know, I mean, they have a pretty good ball club right now.
Yeah, I mean, when you have good teams, there's the top-flight players that you feel like if you can get through them, you're going to be okay. And then there's the McKinstrys that come through, and they're the guys that can beat you some of the time.
And their defense has been okay. I thought it was going to be a disaster, but it hasn't really affected them that much yet.
Yeah, I mean, look, and hopefully Vierling will be back soon. That's a guy like a McKinstry. Teams need guys like that. Who knows with Parker Meadows, but, you know, they're fun to watch, too. That's the other thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's entertaining. It's been good. I mean, there's not much to complain about.
Fun early season series against the Padres coming up this week because they're also off to a great start.
Yes, they are. And then the Orioles are coming in, a team who can usually score a lot of runs. So we'll see.
Yeah, but the Padres, all their stuff's been built at home. They haven't been good on the road. I kind of like the Tigers' chances in this series.
We will see what happens.
I just cursed them. Everybody's like,
way to go, Pat.
Way to go, Pat.
All right, NBA playoffs now in full gear. We'll get to that in a moment. Some housekeeping. J.B. Bickerstaff named one of the 3 finalists for Coach of the Year. Cade Cunningham, one of the 3 finalists for Most Improved Player. Malik Beasley, one of the finalists for NBA 6th Man of the Year. So there's that. Far more important, their first-round series with the Knicks. Game 1 went to New York last night. It was right there, but the Knicks blew it open with a 21-zip run in the 4th quarter, leaving the Pistons down 1 in the best of 7.
These are learning lessons for us, and we have to be honest with ourselves when it comes to that. We talked pregame about what experience is, and this is experience. Now, you come back the next game, and how quickly do you learn from it? You know, you got guys in their first playoff game, and understanding what playoff basketball is and what closing a playoff basketball game is and how hard that is. You know, it's hard to win in the playoffs because people are laying it all out there. So, again, it was a great opportunity for us to learn. You know, they did what they were supposed to do in game 1. Now we've got tape, we've got some experience. We can go back, break it down, and be better in game 2.
We're in the playoffs. We know what type of time. We know what time it is. You know, we don't have anybody in there pouting or holding their head down. We know what we're made of. We know we work so hard for every single day of the year of this season. Yeah, you know, we're ready for game 2.
You know, Tobias Harris has been in his share of playoff games, but I think J.B. Bickerstaff summed it up well. Look, in that 4th quarter, it looked like a veteran team that knew how to turn it on versus a team that had its head spinning.
I mean, 21-0 run is just absurd.
You're normally not going to win when those happen.
No, a lot of that. I mean, Isaiah Stewart went out with 9:06 left, and they were up 5. I don't know how serious his injury is going to be because, you know, you need somebody to defend. They missed 2 breakaway dunks. I mean, they completely lost their mind. And your best player has to play great in the playoffs. And his stat line was okay, but Cade Cunningham was, for his first playoff game, pretty disappointing.
No, loose with the ball, didn't shoot particularly well. A number of times Asar Thompson had the ball down low and just didn't look like he knew how to finish when we've seen him finish all year.
Same thing with Duren.
Yeah, and Duren looked out of place a lot of the night. And look, I think, Pat, they have to gain experience. And the only way you gain experience is to go through it. And when you start talking about a team with Cat, with Brunson, with Bridges, with Hart, with OG, they got some veterans that have been through it.
Well, Karl Anthony Towns, Isaiah Stewart can defend him. Dern struggles with him. So the Stewart injury could be key. Also, I agree with Stoney 1,000%. Cade Cunningham can't just play as usual pretty good either. He has to be above that if they're going to win this series. And they seem to get totally discombobulated. They played fine right up to that moment. And then all of a sudden you could just see where
great spot with 9 minutes to go.
Yeah, they just, it was like they lost their sea legs or something.
But that's where, and look, that's Cade's first playoff game.
Yeah.
But that is where ultimately, when Cade Cunningham becomes the kind of guy that we believe he can be, there won't be a 21-0 run because you've got a guy that stops that. It's the equivalent of a baseball stopper. They're not going to let that run go on that long because they're going to come down and score.
And what you saw was typical. He was great in the first half. Playoff Tobias does a lot early, and they needed it. Didn't really do much in the second half when they needed it as well.
Yeah, and there's plenty of time for big picture, but I do think still this team is evolving. And when they ultimately get where they want to be, the cast around Cade Cunningham will be better.
We haven't had, playoffs in such a long time that we don't know how to react. We have to realize it's a 7-game series. They're playing against a great team, and they're not supposed to win.
The Pistons have lost 15 straight playoff games. So if they win, stop the queue line. Let's have the parade, And by the way, if they win Monday, Saturday's game will be completely forgotten.
Oh, yeah. And Thursday night will be absolutely insane. And it's going to be either way because these fans have waited a long time for this.
Yeah.
So. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see how they come out in game two.
Exactly.
How quickly can you get that seasoning and how quick? Look, because for 39 of the 48 minutes, they looked like they were up to the task.
Right. People were sitting there, well, why doesn't JB call timeouts? He called a timeout with 7:47 left when they tied it at 98, and then a minute 40 later, he had to call another timeout. So he used his timeout.
Yeah, he's a
5-second violation to start the fourth quarter, rarely ever good.
And then a 24-second violation right after that.
Yeah. Well, hey, Monday night, it's going to be fun. And it's fun just to watch these guys.
I know.
You know what?
I love it.
You want to be more than there. But it was fun to see these guys back in it, being competitive. Now you got to be competitive for the whole 48 minutes. Let's get to the Lions. Round 1 of the NFL draft set for Thursday night. As of now, they're scheduled to pick 28. Brad Holmes says anything is possible in terms of staying there, trading up, trading down. I think we've learned you got to be ready for anything with him, any position with him. There does seem to be one absolute, though. He's not drafting to fill out his depth chart. He's drafting to find the best player possible. You've heard that before.
If a coach told me, man, we want a guy that's 6'4", 250. If we got a guy 6'4", 250, that's easy. You want a guy 6'4", 250? Yeah. I don't know if he's a good football player. You can draft a defensive end. If the player playing defensive end is not what we feel is going to be the right guy to really contribute to our football team, then what are you guys going to write about that player? You guys, man, that's not working. So we're not going to reach on players just to fill a position. So that's what we won't do. But it's just, you said, you're always trying to figure out what we're going to do. I don't when a movie comes out, right? I don't understand. When you go to see a movie, you don't know what you've never seen the movie. That's the excitement. And so you're fine just watching the movie. And then it's whether the movie's good or bad, and then you can do that. But I don't understand why people can't just watch the draft. And it's all right, I don't know what's going to happen, but watch the draft and get your popcorn ready and enjoy it.
We will watch the draft. There's no doubt about that. But you're not going to. This is one of the biggest events in the world of sports, period. All the games, everything. This is one of the biggest. Because, Pat, it presents hope to fans, and it presents, quite frankly, the opportunity for everybody to become an expert because they can tell you how good these guys are.
Well, there's two prevailing thoughts I have. One, Brad Holmes is amazing coming up with different ways to say the same thing every year.
He's become which is nothing.
Yeah, nothing, and just going on there and the theatrics.
There's no GMs that give you anything before the draft.
He's great on that. And the other part of it is, this draft doesn't have the sizzle, but it is one of the most important drafts that they've had so far. Because they're not going to get players in free agency. They cannot afford to, in the first 2 days of the draft, take a Manu or somebody like Broderick Martin that doesn't play. They have to get players right now as their time goes on, and those players from last year's draft, which was underwhelming, have to develop. Those two things are the key to the Lions' success.
And look, I think they're going to get a big guy, whether it's defensively or offensive line, because they need both. I know he just said, we're not going to draft for need, but there's so many good players that would fit his mold. Will he trade up again like he did for J-Mo to get like a receiver? I don't think so.
Or is he like he did for Terrion Arnold? I think the intriguing thing is, as the depth chart has improved, and he kind of alluded to this the other day, it does free you up a little bit to maybe package some picks and move up if there is somebody that you like. And if there's one thing we know, Pat, general managers find the guys that they like, and those are the guys that they try to get. And it's not always the guys that we think they like.
And sometimes we're going to try to figure out why they did what they did. Like, let's say, hypothetically, they take Starks, the safety from Georgia. You're sitting there saying, well, maybe they're not going to re-sign Kirby to an extension because they got Branch. I mean,
it's a bigger conversation, but Stoney, somebody's not getting re-signed.
Yes, I know.
I mean, you can't re-sign all these guys that they have.
I know.
Well, yeah, I keep hearing on our station that you can, and then add Myles Garrett, and so on.
Doesn't work that way.
No, because they are in a predicament, especially if you look at what the cap numbers are next year. They do have a little bit of flexibility this year, but getting their core re-signed. That's why it's so imperative that they get players. Like last year, Philadelphia, Barkley helped them. Bond helped them. But certainly DeJean and certainly Mitchell were keys. And the Rams, that made their team. They had over 7,000 snaps from their rookie class last year.
And
over
their
7,000.
second-year guys came up big.
Yeah. So this is very important. That's the key for the Lions. It's not sizzly, but
Big picture, to your point, Kirby, Branch, Laporta, Aiden, Gibbs, J-Mo.
Right.
Not everybody can be paid top of the market.
No.
Sooner or later, there will be another T.J. Hawkinson type trade.
Yes.
We'll see when it happens. I'm not saying it's going to be anytime soon, but all these guys cannot stay here and resign.
Correct.
Pleasure to welcome in the head coach, Oakland University, Greg Kampe. Great to have you here.
See you here.
Want to talk about the program, but I also want to talk about this event you have coming up because it's a really cool one. Wednesday the 30th, you have a town hall to discuss the state of college basketball, the changing landscape of college athletics. You, George Gervin, Tom Izzo, VP of College Basketball, Dan Gavitt. This is the second time that you've done this. Tell me about it, because I know it's big because it also goes to benefit your program.
Yeah, we did it a couple years ago, and I was on that stage, and for 2 hours, nobody went to the bathroom, nobody went to the bar. I mean, Jay Billis was here with Tom, and they got into it a little bit, and it was really cool. And so we decided to do it again, and we're bringing in Gavitt because there's a lot of talk about the NCAA tournament, and Dan will be there to answer the future of the NCAA tournament, what it means for mid-majors. Is it going to expand? Are we going to go to quarters? All that kind of stuff. The people that come to this event, there's only going to be 150 people that we're going to bring in, or allow to come to it, are going to have an up-close and personal time to ask questions and to get answers. We're not going to let them, the media can be there until it starts, but the doors closed, no cell phones. That way the panel will speak truth and not worry about what's being said publicly.
People want to know about, you got it in the headline, the state of college basketball. Everybody wants to know about NIL. We're seeing teams that turn over every single year. Is it healthy right now, or has it gotten a little bit out of control?
Well, I think that's what this discussion's going to be about. I'll have my opinion, but I think more people want to hear from Sage Steele and from Gavitt and from Izzo. And you drive around Detroit and you hear talk radio, Izzo's got to get in the portal. They got to get in the portal. We got to get this guy. We got to go do this. And so the fans are latching on to it. The old school people don't like it because, it used to be a kid would come in as a freshman, kiss the floor as a senior.
Right.
But Tom will be able to weigh in on his feelings and how he's doing, what they're doing. The biggest thing, though, will be the talk of the money. That's the big thing in the regulations and what's coming down the road. And so this 2 hours that we're going to spend in there will be very informative to people.
Well, that's good stuff. I'm going to talk about something we saw from you this week on Twitter, which seemed to indicate that things were going well. Because, look, you just talked about it right there. Fans want to know how you're doing and if you're bringing in enough guys for next year. That's not just you. That's Michigan. That's Michigan State. That's everybody. That tweet, while you can't name names, but I will, Brody Robinson, Isaac Garrett, Coy Thurman, seems to indicate things are going well with you guys. And I know you can't talk specifics.
I can't talk about the players we've got, but we're really excited. You know, our fan base, like any fan base, you know, you see a player like Alan McCabe leave and go get $750,000 or whatever he got at Arizona State. We can't compete financially with that. But our market is out there, and you know, we think we're doing really well. We're excited about the team that we're going to have. And so I felt I needed to put a little thing out there just to let, because they just read about a player leaving us. All right, well, we've got, you know, this is what it is. This is the reality of college basketball now. We're going to turn rosters. And so I wanted our people to know that we're pretty happy this week. And maybe even more this coming week.
I got about 30 seconds. Do you find yourself kind of riding a roller coaster here with this thing? You lose a guy, you gain a guy. It's a new way of doing business.
I've just accepted it. I don't want to fight it. I want to be the guy on the other side of it, you know, riding the train to happiness, right? And I think my job is to win. And I feel really good about the roster we're putting together, that we can win and win big next year.
Hey, so obviously this is a really cool event. If you want more information, you can check it out. Go to ColinShannon@oakland.edu or Kampe. Contact the coach directly, Kampe@oakland.edu. It's sponsored by Tryon Solutions. For any sports fan, this is going to be a fantastic night. Couple of tables left. If you want information, reach out.